Okay, now we're going to do something that elementary textbooks often use, is convert into base 2. And the reason they do base 2 is because base 2 is so easy for most students who are just learning how to do multiplication to deal with. So we think about base 2. Let's make a chart for our 2's in terms of bases. So 2 to the 0 is always still 1. 2 to the first power is 2. 2 to the second power is 4. 2 to the third power is 4 times 2, which is 8. 2 to the fourth power is 8 times 2, which is 16. 2 to the fifth power is 16 times 2, which is 32. 2 to the sixth power is 32 times 2, or 64. 2 to the seventh power is 64 times 2, or 128. We'll stop with that one. Alright, so we have to think about, we have lots more powers here. So in base 2, we're only going to have 2 digits, and it's going to be 0 and 1. And the original computers were based on 0 and 1. If you do any research about some of the original work that was done with computers, you'll see that everything is based on 0, 1. 1 represents something is turned on, and 1 represents something is turned off. Okay. So let's convert the number 150 base 10 to base 2. Okay. Now, let's start out with 150. Alright, if we multiplied this number times 2, we're going to get a number that's larger than 150. So we're good to go with this. So let's say 150 divided by 128. Okay, so we're got to think about this. Just make sure that you take care of your place value in this one particularly, because there are so many places. So this is 2 to the 7th power, so we'll write that down. So 128 into 150 goes 1 time, and 1 times 128 is 128, and then subtract and get 22. Okay, 128 won't go into that, so it's remainder 22. Okay, so now let's go to 22. So the largest power that goes into 22 is 16. So 22 divides by 16, and it goes 1 time, and 16 times 1 is 16, and subtract and get 6, remainder. Alright, so then 6, here we have 4. Okay, now let's go back up here and make sure we don't forget this. We need 2 to the 4th power, which is what 16 was. And with 4, we need 2 to the 2nd power. Alright, so 4 into 6 goes 1 time. 4 times 1 is 4. Subtract and get 2. Remainder. Okay, and do your last division here. And 2 is this one. So it divides by 2. And this one was 2 to the 1st power, so it goes 1 time, and we get 0 remainder. Now, we got from 2 to the 1st to 2 to the 7th, but we have to write down all the places. So we have 2 to the 0, 2 to the 1, 2 to the 2, 2 to the 3, 2 to the 4, 2 to the 5, 2 to the 6, 2 to the 7th. Okay. Now, so we're going to put a 1 in 2 to the 7th place. we're going to put a 1 in 2 to the 4ths place. We're going to put a 1 in 2 to the 2nds place. And we're going to put a 1 in 2 to the 1st place. And we have to hold our place value with all the rest. Okay, now think about it. We know that when you divide here, you're not going to be getting a number any larger than your base. Okay, just like when you divided, in base 7, you didn't get a number that was larger than 7. It's never going to go 7 times, or in here it's never going to go 2 times, because if it does, it goes on to the next place. Okay? So now let's go back and double check this. So we'll convert that back to base 10. So we start out with 2 to the 7th, 2 to the 6th, 2 to the 5th, 2 to the 4th, 2 to the 3rd, 2 to the 2nd, 2 to the 1st, and 2 to the 0. So 2 to the 7th was 1, and then 0, 0. 2 to the 4th was 1. 2 to the 3rd is 0. 2 to the 2nd is 1. 2 to the 1st is 1. And 2 to the 0 is 0. Okay, so now let's do the math. Alright, so we have 1 times 2 to the 7th, which is 128. And that equals 128. The next one is 0 times 64, which is just 0. The next one is 0 times 2 to the 5th, which is 32. Now, granted, you don't have to do all this because you know these zeros. Anytime you multiply anything times 0, you don't have to really do the math in the middle because you know the answer is going to be 0. So now we have 1 times 2 to the 4th, which is 16. We have 0. We have 1 times 2 to the 2nd, which is 4. We have 1 times 2 to the 1st, which is 2. And we have 0. And when we add all those back up, let's see, we have 8, 18, 20, 2, 4, 5, and 1. So indeed, now how would you read this number? You would read it just like a normal number marked off in periods. So it would be 10,000,010,110 base 2. Okay? 10,010,110.